just to kind of give folks an idea or a sense as to really what our program is all about and some of the things that we cover. But first we want to talk about what the impact of windfall elimination provision is on government pension offset.
You can see there's two terms up there, windfall elimination provision, government pension offset. The windfall elimination provision, or the windfall, or the WEP, that's applied towards your own Social Security benefits. So you have worked, you've earned your 40 quarters, and you're eligible for a Social Security benefit. You're also eligible for a pension from work not covered by Social Security. So you work, say, as a state teacher. I like to pick on the teachers, probably because they picked on me when I was in school, but the state teachers are a good group to use because there's a lot of them. When they go to receive their Social Security benefit, if they're receiving their pension, so we have our state teacher and they're receiving their state teacher pensions from STRS. Now they want to file for their Social Security benefits. Think back to when we talked about how Social Security benefits are computed. Remember that first bin point, or the first bracket. I said most people get 90% of that. So this year, that first bracket is $791, and you get 90% of that, it was $711 in some sense. If you're eligible for a pension from work not covered by Social Security, that 90% is going to change, and it can be as low as 40%. What that means is, when you look at your statement and it says you're going to get X amount of dollars, that's not going to be right. If you're eligible for this state teacher's pension, then that number is actually going to be reduced, and it can be reduced by as much as $385, $390 a month. Varies from year to year, but it's somewhere around that number. Well, what is a substantial wage? This year, it's $21,075 of Social Security covered wages. So if you have 30 years of Social Security covered wages and you're eligible for an STRS pension, that's not going to be offset. And we see that occasionally, particularly if you have, say, a teacher that worked in the private and the public sector a lot, then they're going to be eligible for both. Maybe they're not going to see an offset. But for the most part, most of the state employees and the federal employees who are not under the new federal employee retirement system are going to be at the 40% level. It goes down the further back you go, and it goes back even further, down further as you go further back. So you have to look at each particular year and count the number of substantial years that they have in wages, in Social Security covered wages. And then you can figure out what their Social Security benefit is going to be. There is a guarantee that says that your Social Security benefit will not be reduced by more than 1/2 of your pension amount. So if your state teacher's pension is $500, they're not going to reduce your Social Security benefit the full $390. They'll only reduce it a maximum of $250. So there is a guarantee to keep you from being penalized. You will never lose all of your Social Security benefit. You're always going to receive something. It just may not be all that much. So that's the windfall elimination provision. The other piece that you have to look at, and the other part of this puzzle, is a government pension offset. Now this affects what you draw from somebody else's work record. So if you're technically eligible for spousal benefits or widows or widowers benefits, then this government pension offset is going to come along and you're going to be subject to that. So the government pension offset affects what you can draw from somebody else's work record. It can completely offset what you're eligible to draw. Now if you need it, you can still draw Medicare from your spouse. If you don't have Medicare coverage yourself and you need the coverage, you can still get that even if you're in total offset. But you're not going to get a monthly benefit amount. As soon as you take your pension though, then Social Security wants to know how much is your pension, and they're going to offset this spousal benefit or widows or widowers benefit by 2/3 of the amount of your pension. So you can't get around it by taking a lump sum payment. They're still going to figure out what would that monthly payment be, and we're going to offset your benefit because of that. So are there any questions on that?
The offset.
Yeah, technically, she's eligible for benefits from her ex-husband, but she's still gonna be subject to the government pension offset.
And it's always 2/3 of what that pension would be. So
It rolls along with it, and a lot of times then, they'll get a cost of living increase, it changes the offset amount, they have to go to Social Security and say, look, I got an increase, this is how much my new monthly benefit amount is, and it's the gross amount, it's before any deductions. This is my new amount, you need to change my deduction. Well, that takes a while, so then they end up getting overpaid, causes a little bit of aggravation, but I think they kind of get used to it after a couple of years, but it is a rolling number, and it doesn't matter whether it's a current spouse or a divorced spouse, or if you're dealing with a surviving spouse.
I'd say 25% of our clients that come in for consultation are impacted as they are a public employee, either the wife or the husband is. So in Ohio, 97.5% of our public employees are not covered by Social Security. What we're trying to do here is drive home the difference between the two. One of these provisions only affect you if you're entitled to Social Security benefits and you're receiving a public employee pension. The other one impacts you if you're entitled to Social Security benefits off of a spouse's earnings record. So in this case, it's WEP, windfall elimination provision. Everybody understands the difference between the two? Okay, let's go to the next question. So we know in this case, WEP impacted Sally because it was her Social Security benefits and it was her public employee. For in this case, it's Betty's a school teacher, and she's wondering how much she can receive as Social Security benefits from her husband, Steve. So in that case, it would be government pension offset, GPO. Number 3, the GPO provision can reduce spousal benefits to 0. It can even reduce spousal benefits to negative. In that case, Jim, what happens?
They just don't pay you. They don't make you pay. They don't make you pay them. So, oh,
Your house.
sorry, you're going to have to pay us. Maybe that's a good way for the Social Security Administration to take in some money.
5, WEP. Would this provision ever reduce the Social Security benefit to 0? Let's just raise hands. Those say yes, raise your hand. That's the windfall elimination provision. Deals with the first bend point. First bend point is 90% of the first 791. Reduces it down to as low as 40%. As a widow, Sue is eligible for $4,000 per month in Social Security benefits. What amount of widow's benefits will Sue receive? So this is the 2/3 offset. 2/3 of her public employee pension is $2,000. So we take $4,000, reduce it by 2, and she'll receive $2,000 as a widow. So clients that come in to talk about how WEP might impact them, we do want to look at their earnings history, just to make sure they understand what substantial earnings are. See if maybe we can increase the percentage from 40% back up to 90%. California, Texas, and Ohio, we represent 50% of workers not covered by Social Security. So you can see the advisors in these 3 states have to deal with WEP and GPO very consistently. Jim, I threw out a 25% figure. Is that about right with our clients?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty high percentage. There's a lot of involvement. 1 out of 4 probably sounds about right.
Okay. What we want to do now is talk about options that folks have. Margaret and Dick, Richard, they have 12 options. I'll review with you the options for Jay, and Jim will talk about the surviving spouse and married couples. Okay, this is the type of handout or printout we would give to our client. She has another option that's not identified on here. It's what we call claim and suspend, and this is how it would work. As a matter of fact, it's number 8, I believe, on our checklist. If we know that Jane is going to wait past full retirement age anyways, what we'll tell her to do is file an application but suspend her benefits. This is what we call claim and suspend. This establishes her application for Social Security benefits. If down the road she needs some cash, she can call the Social Security Administration up and say, and have them tell them to send her a check for all benefits not paid out to her. So let's just say she's 68 years old now, and she's entitled to $2,000 a month. That's basically $48,000. she can call the Social Security Administration up and ask them and tell them to send her a check for $48,000. And they'll do that. That's like building up a cash reserve. No questions asked. This case, they can go back to the age of 66. Give her 24 months worth of benefits paid in one lump sum versus just 6. This strategy only works if Jane's going to wait beyond full retirement age anyways, because there's a risk that you take. Jane gets hit by that bus, dies, 66 and 2 months old, then she doesn't collect any benefits at all, and you can't inherit Social Security benefits. So if Jane's going to wait past 66, we'll tell her to do the claim and suspend. This builds a cash reserve. If 2 years into this, she needs some money, she calls Social Security up and tells them to send her a check for 24 months worth of payments, and they'll do that. No, you don't get any interest, you don't get any delayed retirement credits, but yet you've got access to this cash. And immediately after you get this cash, then you can start your monthly payments if you want to, or you can wait further. You can wait till 70 and get at least 2 years worth of delayed retirement credits.
There's not many downsides.
Not really, no. The problem why people don't utilize this strategy is they just don't know it exists. They really don't know. And so we put this on our checklist. It's number 9.
How quickly can you turn the money?
Probably everything's already set in place. I would say you'd have your money within 7 to 10 days.
Do you explain that provisions of that, the good points of taking it, the good points of not taking it, when you're talking to a client as access to your services?
We don't get too many single folks, so we talk about the claim and suspend in more than just this particular area, because there's two good points about claim and suspend. But we do talk to people about that so that they understand. You know, it's not something that you want to take that money unless you absolutely have to. It's kind of a last resort kind of thing, because you do lose the delayed retirement credits. They don't pay you any interest on the money, but there's no penalty either. So you can take that money out, but you're losing what you gained while you were waiting.
Oh,
This
sorry.
is not appropriate for a married person.
Well, it can be.
Could they?
Sure, it doesn't matter whether you're married or single. If you're waiting past your full retirement age to take your Social Security benefit, you can claim and suspend. The only time you don't want to claim and suspend in your past full retirement age is if you're going to do what's called a restricted application that we're going to talk about, because you can't do both. But if you're not filing for spousal benefits off of your spouse's work record, then claim and suspend works for everybody. You can take your own benefit at age 62 and then file for the widows or widowers benefits at 66. And this is one of the instances where they will talk to somebody about their options, is that they would say, we know what the widow's benefit is higher than your own, so take your own at 62 and switch to the widow's benefit at age 66. Doesn't seem like a bad option. She gets $1,602 on her own from 62 to 66, and at 66 she switches to the widow's and gets $2,250. You can claim and suspend, and that allows your spouse to draw benefits from your work record. If you happen to have children and they're eligible for a Social Security benefit, it allows them to draw their benefits as well. So anybody that's eligible for a benefit from your work record can draw from your record if you claim and suspend. You filed an application with Social Security, but you tell them not to pay you. That means your spouse, your children can come along behind and say, well, he doesn't want his money, but I'll take mine. What ended up being their best option is the wife went ahead and took her benefits at age 62. She took that 25% cut in her monthly benefit amount. That allowed her husband to file a restricted application. She's getting $1,759, he's getting the $1,166. Then at age 70, what he'll do is he'll file an application for benefits on his own work record, and he's now earned his 32% increase because he's earned every delayed retirement credit available to him, and his benefit will jump from $1,166 to $3,197. Now, we figured out for these folks that his break-even point on what he lost in benefits from 66 to 70 would be recovered at about age 75. So it'll take him a little over 5 years to make up the money, and then from that point forward, he's ahead every month.
I'm just a very simple person, but if I looked at this, the least they would have got is $1,012,000, the most they would get is $1,058,000, so, about that, that's $46,000 difference on it. If you're taking that money, or if you take it as soon as you could get it and invested that at, what percentage would that equal to, would it have to earn in order to be equal to what he would, the $1,058,000?
I understand what you're saying, and there are situations you can look at that. I mean, technically, he could file his benefits at 66 and take that money and invest it. You know, how long would it have to stay invested to make that up? I don't know, but he's getting 8% a year by waiting, an increase in his benefit amount. So, yeah, those are the types of things that somebody's certified financial advisor is probably going to discuss with them, and this is a good base for that.